too real to touch. You'll never in your life try to knock the truth. The illest shit ever. Get ready, cause this is about to get heavy.
Trying to keep me out, trying to censor what I say, cause they don't like what I'm talking about. So what's wrong with the media today?
Prove I'm lying if I ain't correct.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. New media is here. Now, with new media, it is definitely imperative that I bring you guys accuracy with my boxing reporting. Now, I got a quick disclaimer. I want to talk about Gennady Golovkin's numbers with Dominic Wade and break it down. But a quick disclaimer. Some people were leaving comments on the channel saying like, oh, why haven't you talked about Gennady Golovkin versus Wade? The numbers. Are you hiding something? Do you not want to talk about it? There's this connotation that I have something against Gennady Golovkin. That just sounds foolish because I actually covered this fight, and Gennady Golovkin or his team, they didn't pay for me to travel or hotel stays or anything like that. So I don't know what this notion is. I am a reporter. My job is to report the facts, and that's what I'm gonna do in this particular video. Some people even made the comparison that, oh, when the Andre Ward Barrera numbers were high, you immediately did a report. Listen, I live in the Bay Area, right? So when I covered at the end of March, I covered the Ward fight. If you remember, in addition to that being in my neck of the woods, I can go home and it's not a drive. I drove to LA, which is 6 hours, right? When I went and covered the Ward fight, that's in my backyard. So I don't have to drive 6 hours to get home, right? And not to mention, Golovkin fight brought out a lot of people, so I still have content. So you guys got to be patient. I'm a one-man army, but I will get everything out. You know what I mean? I got my dude Bakari who writes for me, and we're banging stuff out. Pause. So the Ward situation is different. Not to mention that Ward, when he fought Barrera, there hadn't been so much boxing on. Like Chocolatito fight, I had to talk, you know what I mean, do that. Monday Mail Day. So boxing fans, you guys, no guys, please, you got to be patient. Now let's talk about some Gennady Golovkin numbers, and I want to break down some facts. And the fight scored 1.325 million at peak versus Dominic Wade, which is good, very solid for Gennady Golovkin. It's the highest rated HBO regular boxing telecast since last year when Miguel Cotto fought Daniel Gill, and we know that Miguel Cotto is a certified star. So props to Golovkin. Now, I told you in a previous video, with new media, I'm going to show you guys some things that other people aren't daring to talk about, right? Again, there's this notion that I don't want to talk about something. I'll talk about whatever. Like, I talk about things that other people are afraid to talk about. So why would I be afraid to make a video about Gennady Golovkin's number? I wish him success, because if he's successful, then we can get some big fights with him, like a fight with Canelo. So there's nothing. Again, my job is to report. I'm reporting what I see, and I give you my own spin, my own twist. So I'm not hiding. I'm just swamped and busy with work. So as far as Golovkin's numbers, that's good. But remember what I told you guys in a previous video. When it comes to the old media and a lot of people, how they report stuff, they will tell you what something peaked at as opposed to average. And with certain fighters who are on the coincidental list, they're going to tell you the average. So always look for that media trick. You'll see a lot of headlines that show Golovkin's peak. That's what he peaked at, right? Another thing you have to keep in mind when it comes to cable viewership, and I don't have time to really expand and break it all down, but this was a quick one-sided fight, right? It's not like it went on 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds. That can change your viewership. If it's a quick, I mean, you got a knockdown in round 1, and it looked like Dominic Wade was on his way out, so people are going to naturally stay tuned to see what happens. And Triple G handled business and got him out of there, knocked him down again, and got him out of there. So the shorter the fight, the shorter the night, typically the higher the viewership, because you don't have to keep someone's attention span for 8 rounds or 9 rounds, 10, 12 rounds, right? So a lot of people wanted to compare this to Sullivan Barrera versus Andre Ward, completely different. And that's what I'm going to break down in this video. And one of the reasons is that was a 12-round fight with Abel Sanchez's fighter. So that fight lasted a lot longer. And when we're talking about viewership, the way it works is the fact that the fight was so short in terms of the Golovkin fight. There's people don't need to flip to the channel or go watch something else in between whatever else was going on. Now, again, since I cover the facts, I give Golovkin and his team a lot of props for this aspect. They were competing with a UFC card. There was a UFC card that same night with Jon Jones. So anytime you have two kind of main fighting sports, you're gonna, some of your non-diehard boxing fans might have been watching the Jon Jones fight. So they were up against that. Just like when Andre Ward was up against with Barrera, he was up against the Final Four, I believe. I told you that. And then I also give them props for the fact that they fought a little known guy in Dominic Wade. Most people didn't know Dominic Wade. So to produce good numbers with a guy like Dominic Wade shows you that Triple G is a growing star. Now, let's talk about some of the flip side and some of the new media stuff that other people aren't going to talk about. Since people want to leave comments and talk about Andre Ward versus Barrera. Again, Barrera's not, he was a mandatory, he's a good fighter, undefeated, and he was little known as well. And the fight lasted 12 rounds. So when you look at the viewership, the Andre Ward and Triple G versus Wade fights were very comparable in numbers in terms of their average and what they peaked at, right? But the big difference is, as I mentioned in that past Ward video that people wanted to reference, is Ward does not have the same level of push as a Gennady Golovkin. ESPN did not cover Andre Ward versus Sullivan Barrera. And not just them, there's other media members that weren't there that did not cover the fight with Andre Ward versus Sullivan Barrera, and he still produced those numbers, right? Triple G, we know he's a star. He just became a member of Team Jordan. That's why you could see right now his apparel, and he's a growing star, and he's part of the HBO vehicle. They're putting Chocolatito and Triple G. It's like almost like a package deal that you're getting with HBO. They're really pumping these guys, especially as a double feature. So they're getting the market push. So when I made the video about Andre Ward, I was impressed because he also had a little known opponent, did not have the same level of media exposure. His style is not one that everybody just enjoys. Like Triple G, he's knocking everybody out based on his level of competition. So of course people are gonna love that. You don't have to be a sweet science lover to see and watch something. It's like it's easy on the eyes when Triple G fights because someone's probably getting knocked out at the moment, right? So I was impressed with Ward, since people want to compare, that he had a little known opponent. He did not have the same type of HBO and or other media outlets, big media outlets pushing for his fight, and he still did with reasonably, like right around the same numbers, like really close numbers. Put it this way, if we're talking about rich people's salaries, what Andre Ward versus Sullivan Barrera did and Gennady Golovkin versus Dominic Wade, what they did would be in the same tax bracket, right? It's not like one fight did 2 million and the other fight only did 1 million, you know what I mean? And this is very funny to me because I distinctly recall at a point in time when Ward and Triple G looked like a fight that could be made, when Ward was still at 168. I don't want to hear excuses like, oh, Ward, he's a light heavyweight now. Triple G's trying to unify 160. That is true. But at a point in time, they were only a division apart, right? And it didn't look like Triple G was getting the level of competition that is comparable to an Andre Ward. And one of the biggest things that people said is, oh, Andre Ward, he's boring. Oh, he's inactive Ward. Oh, he can't sell out his mom's basement, right? So since you want to compare it, why would they even be in the same tax bracket in terms of they both did 1 million plus, really close comparable numbers, right? Triple G, his fight with Dominic Wade did slightly better, but again, it was only a 2-round fight. And they did very comparable numbers, but back then, when the fight was a potential to happen, what were people saying? They're saying, oh, Andre Ward does nothing near the numbers of Triple G. That's the point. That's what new media is going to, and you guys could do your research on this. So I'm not taking anything away from Triple G's team. They're doing a phenomenal job of marketing him. But certain fighters, Pacquiao, Mayweather, certain fighters, Yuriorkis, Gamboa, Mikey Garcia, their names become synonymous with each other. And Triple G, there was a lot of articles, interviews, and stuff where Triple G and Andre Ward's names were linked. But what they were saying doesn't make sense. You were saying Ward, he's so boring and he can't sell and he doesn't do the type of numbers. Triple G's clearly the A side. That's what people were saying back then. I got the videos to prove it. And this is telling me something different, because although the Triple G fight versus Wade was higher, it was not that much higher to the point where it was in a whole different echelon, a whole different galaxy, a whole different universe of numbers. He did great numbers. Again, he did good numbers with the little known Dominic Wade, the best since HBO, Cotto versus Daniel Gill. So again, props to his team. But I got to also break this down, because a lot of people don't, they wanted me to do this video. And again, as a reporter, since you want me to do the video, I'm going to come with facts. This weekend, or the last weekend with the Triple G Wade fight, was part of HBO's free preview weekend, right? So go to billboard.com. HBO is letting everyone watch Beyonce's Lemonade premiere for free this weekend. This, again, is Billboard, so a reputable, credible website. I'm not on Craigslist or something looking at articles. Also, the season premieres of Game of Thrones, Veep, and Silicon Valley. HBO is preparing for a big weekend of premieres, and for maximum impact is letting everyone watch it for free. So again, you have Queen Bey, or whatever you guys call her, who had a debut, and they wanted to give it as much exposure as possible. So they opened up their network to anybody with a TV, even if you didn't normally subscribe to HBO, which is big. And it obviously worked, because even Triple G versus Dominic Wade seen some of those residuals. And I asked Tom Loeffler, you guys seen the clip at the beginning, I asked if he felt this would be the biggest numbers. So again, since you guys wanted me to make the video, let's talk facts. The subscription TV network announced Wednesday, April 20th, it and Cinemax will offer a free preview weekend running Friday through Monday. The fight happened on Saturday, aligning with the world premiere of Beyonce's Lemonade and season premieres of some of his favorite shows. So again, HBO and Cinemax free preview for many this weekend. Free preview for Cinemax and HBO. If you have AT&T Uverse, Cox Cable, Pause, DirecTV, Dish Network, Verizon, the free preview began April 22nd and it ended April 25th, which is in line with this man right here. Gennady Golovkin fought Dominic Wade April 23rd. So realistically, what we're talking about, this is comparable, no different than what Al Heyman's been doing with free TV, putting fights on free TV. People, even if you didn't have HBO boxing, HBO normal subscription, it's not in your budget or you don't pay for it, you still had access to see Gennady Golovkin versus Dominic Wade. So when people leave me comments, new media will talk about it. And that's the difference. The Sullivan Barrera versus Andre Ward fight was not during a free preview weekend. And it also had something, just like Dominic Wade Triple G fight was competing with the UFC John Jones card, that was competing with the Final Four. So they were both competing versus another major sports event simultaneously happening. But the Andre Ward Sullivan Barrera fight was not, I repeat, was not part of an HBO free preview. And again, this HBO is a business that's been around long enough. I think that also goes to show you who they're promoting. Gennady Golovkin is a star that's growing. His star power is growing. He's good for ratings. So it's no stranger or no secret that HBO put this doubleheader in line with an event where it's for free. They wanted people to get to see this fight for free, in addition to Game of Thrones, in addition to Beyonce. So it just goes to what I was saying earlier. HBO is pushing this man right here, Gennady Golovkin, and also this guy underneath, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. And that's just what it is. Both good fighters, but if you want me to make videos, then I'm going to talk about the facts. So solid numbers from Triple G. The biggest thing for me, I want to see Canelo or Billy Joe Saunders, Danny Jacobs, one of these dudes take him up on his offer and fight the man, because that's the only way that I can see, or move up and fight a Gilberto Ramirez. People are going to have to start seeing Triple G in competitive fights or challenged with the best available names. Like if he went in there with Denny Jacobs and blew him out just like he did Dominique Wade, the same style, then it is what it is. If he made it an easy fight that easy, that's cool. But typically what I've seen, you look at some of the best fighters in the world, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Miguel Cotto, all these classic, Felix Trinidad, Oscar De La Hoya, all these fighters, when they stepped up in class, typically all their fights wasn't a runaway road show where it was just they dominated everybody every time. You know what I mean? Floyd had tough fights with Cotto, tough fights with DeMarcus Corley, Zab Judah. He had tough fights with Maidana. Pacquiao had tough fights with Marquez. The Bradley fights were competitive. That's why they said he lost the first one. You know what I mean? He's been in tough fights before. Antonio Margarito said was a difficult fight for him. So that's just really what I want to see from Gennady Golovkin. And I understand some people are avoiding him and don't look like they really want to fight him. But it's only so long people, I think, are going to tune in to watch the Adamas, the Dominique Wades, the Macklins, the guys that really a lot of people don't give a fair shot to win. But again, when we're talking about numbers, we got to put it in perspective. This was during a free preview weekend. It was good numbers for this level of opponent that was a mandatory, but a lot of people weren't familiar with Dominique Wade, so I give him props for that. But you have to take into consideration that this was also in line with Beyonce and a free preview weekend. So again, it goes back to what I was saying before, where people were saying, no, Andre Ward, he's so much lower. Triple G is clearly the A side. You're talking about a guy who's clearly being pushed by HBO, also being on a double feature. Look at Andre Ward's co-feature was Jojo Diaz, his very first HBO debut versus Triple G. They keep partnering him up with Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, who also is rapidly growing and he's being pumped. ESPN also put these two guys on the top 25 in the last 25 years list, right? So not even just HBO, they're getting primed and pumped from other big major media outlets like ESPN. So if we're gonna play the numbers game and talk the numbers game, let's talk it, and let's talk it with facts. So again, shout out to Team Triple G for a solid number. He did good. It's just one of these guys have to fight him. I like how Triple G's getting a bit more aggressive and bold. Like, just give me my belts. No, you know what I'm saying? And I think he needs to do that. He said he wasn't going to do this. He said he's going to see Canelo versus Khan, and he wasn't going to interrupt or jump on the stage. I think he should do that because he needs to nab one of these guys. Because if he's doing this type of numbers with a Dominique Wade, imagine if he would have fought Andre Ward. If he fights a Erislandy Lara. I mean, there's no way you could tell me that Dominique Wade has more pull, more clout, more respect in the game than Erislandy Lara. Whether you like Lara's style or hate it, that is still a fighter who's been in there with Paul Williams. He has a pay-per-view under his belt with Canelo. He had a war with Angulo where he got knocked down twice. I would pick Triple G to beat Lara, but I still got to see it. So as far as I'm concerned, Triple G just needs a big name. Gilberto Ramirez, anybody, because if he's producing this, like Dominique Wade had no resistance. I seen it live. I was close, and there was no resistance. I really don't think that Gilberto Ramirez would just go out like that, right? So just imagine what Triple G would be doing, the types of numbers he would do if he fought a Ward, a Erislandy Lara, a Gilberto Ramirez, just anybody with a big name, some momentum. Some of those, I think everybody I just named was undefeated. Gilberto Ramirez undefeated, Andre Ward undefeated. Lada's not undefeated, but arguably he shouldn't have a loss, you know what I mean? Because the Canelo fight was controversial. A lot of people thought he won. And then also he had a loss to Paul Williams, which was BS. And Paul Williams is my dude, you know what I'm saying? But I call it like it is. So let me know what's next for Gennady Golovkin. Those are his numbers. Solid numbers for a little-known opponent. But I'm going to put it into perspective that some people aren't going to and talk about the HBO preview weekend. Because, again, that's what makes it comparable to like a PBC. Because you look at PBC, a lot of these same writers, they put it under scrutiny. Like, yeah, Danny Garcia versus Robert Guerrero, it did 1.5 million, but it was on free TV, so it should have been 3.5 million, right? And then you look at Gennady Golovkin, he did just over 1 million, under 1.5 million on basically free TV because it was free that weekend. And that's all I gotta say. New media. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like my video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off.